I'm involved in a after-school club where we go through investing in the stock market. Loads of the kids at the school are interested in buying stocks, Bitcoin, roadblocks, all this company information, and they're aware that the stock market exists, and they kind of need guidance on how you'd start, what you'd look for, the whole kind of process. So as it's my background, I said to the school, do you want me to come in and, with the teacher, I can help. Anyway, the school said, yeah. And I kind of had this thing, weeks were passing, and I was like, we need some real money. We need to, why don't we make this a real thing, a real portfolio, a real fund for the school? So anyway, had a meeting with the head, went in, and I don't think financial literacy was ever taught at school. We were all maths, physics, chemistry, and all the rest of it. So much of assumed knowledge is missing. And I went through my presentation with him about how the fund would work, the basics of compound interest, and as I was going through the presentation, showing him basically compounding, he was like, what's that? And I was like, oh, if you invest now and you continue to invest and you grow your fund, if you start now with this much and you put in just a tiny amount, you can get to this much. And he was, eyes were wide. He was like, oh my God, why haven't I done this? Because the numbers are quite substantial. And it's just something we don't do. I mean, when I was 20, I wasn't putting in money on a monthly basis into a fund. But had someone shown me this, I definitely would have. So anyway, I'll show you now what I showed him, and I wondered if it's going to blow your mind, because it definitely blew his. And it was fun, because it was then exciting. He was totally bought into it. I could see him thinking how he could get going now. And yeah, it was really engaging. So check this out. So there's this nice little calculator here, future value calculator, and it says will determine the future value of an investment in the S&P 500. I'm hoping you've heard of the S&P 500. Basically, the US companies listed on the New York Stock Exchange and the Nasdaq Stock Exchange. The top 500. I'll go into how those 500 are picked, but basically 500 companies go into this one index that you'll see on the news all the time, and it just says if you invested this amount of money at this age, taking history and spinning it over forward, this is how much you should have in the future. I hope I've explained that roughly well. So let's say, I don't know whether you can read these because it's small text. Let's say you have, I always like to start, I always like to argue that you have your mobile phone contract of 30 whatevers a month, so $30 or 30 euros, 30 pounds, 30 ringgit. So I would argue with anyone that they can afford, because they have a mobile phone on 30 bucks, that they can afford 30 bucks in an investment account. Now, the age of, they put here is 20, so yeah, fine, you maybe got your first job, you maybe got a little bit of money, so you got 30 bucks, and then every month, somehow, along with your monthly mobile bill for 30, you chuck in another 30 in your investment account, and you just buy the S&P 500. So this little calculator will just tell you what you have at 70 years old. So obviously this is just a representation, but this button blew his mind, to my surprise. $3.8 million. The key here is that every month you find that 30 bucks and you put it in the S&P 500 and you don't touch this. There'll be ups, there'll be downs, there'll be crashes, there'll be bull runs. You'll be so tempted to mess around. If you just sling in 30 and then just sit and wait for when you do need it. Let's say you retire slightly early, so instead of 70 you retire at 65, or later you stop working at 80, you'll have even more. And then the point is, he was quite astounded by that number. He probably thought it was going to be like 100,000, 200,000. For example, my parents have put into a pension, and oh boy, do I not like pensions. The main reason is that it's the pension company that makes the money, not you. So anyway, he was very surprised by this number. And obviously you can tinker with this. So let's say you start it off with 1,000, and let's say you can manage 1,000 a month. I don't know, is that a bit ambitious? Well, let's just put 100. So starting capital 1,000, and every month you find another £100 to put in there. So let's say that's your mobile phone bill and your Netflix subscription and I don't know, whatever other subscription. Let's say for every subscription, you match your S&P 500 contribution. That's a great metric, isn't it? And then if you hit calculate, $13 million. So it blew his mind. I'd already, having worked in finance, I already knew this, but I know the power of it. It's how Warren Buffett, again, I'll do a video on him. He's made most of his money later in his life. When he was 40, 50, he was doing well, but it's really, really kicked in later. And I've just got kind of because you're wondering, how does it get to that? And it does a hockey stick. It starts off slow, 30, 60, 90, 100, 20, really, really slow. But once you get up to big numbers, it really does the hockey stick. And it's those last few years, well, it's as the number gets bigger that it really kicks up. But the key is, you've got to start. Any spare money, you've got to put it in. You've got to start this process. This is when you add the contributions. I don't know if you can see this chart. This one is where you add nothing. You just put in 100,000 and leave it. But obviously we want to add continually. And this is when you get this separation. And instead of making, with no contribution, just shy of 2 million over the time frame I've mapped here, if you continue to contribute, you get up to, we're around 5 million on this, on these years. So, and that's the key, is that continual contribution. And it blew his mind when I showed him this calculator. Get on this tool, it's really cool. Troutwood.com SP500-calculator, and just tinker with what you think you could contribute, and then what that money would be when you get older. Maybe set this up for your kids. I've got a 9-year-old. Let's say she gets 500 sometimes from her granny, and then let's say every month I'll add let's say I'll add her pocket money, so 5. I wonder how much this will be. This will be interesting because I'm not sure how much this is going to be. So, $500,000 with $5 a month. I mean, that actually blows my mind. It's like when you get your credit card bill and you scroll down and you got 5 ringgit here, 4 ringgit there, like small numbers, yeah? And then the total of your credit card bill is 4,000. You're like, hang on, I only bought coffees and nasi lemak. How can it be thousands? It's ones and twos, it's tens and coffees. And that is the compound interest element. It's those tiny amounts adding up, and adding up. I wonder if you have that same thing with your Visa bill like I do, because I'm sure if I add them up on a calculator, it's like 1,000, yet somehow Visa thinks it's 4,000. Anyway, so yeah, let me know if that's blown your mind. I'm going to start doing more, basically what this class asked me, because I don't know what people don't know. I've been in the finance industry since I bought my first share when I was 7. My mum let me buy some stocks when I was 7. So I've been around it a long time. I don't know what people don't know. So I'm going to, on this channel, cover things that the guys in the class, in this investment club, asked me. So for example, the other day, my missus had a bar chart of the Bitcoin price. And she said, I don't understand the bars. So I now know I need to make a video for everyone that doesn't know what a bar chart means. What it represents. So that's one thing. And the other day I mentioned Warren Buffett. All the kids in this class just looked at me. We don't know who this old guy is. So I'm going to start covering all these bits that I think is assumed knowledge that obviously isn't. And if I can help impart my knowledge to you, then I'll have done something good. I think that's it. I hope you find that interesting. Have a play with it, and definitely start your own investment journey. That's it.